Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Mayday Network. I'm Michelle Kinney. I'm here with Julie Roginski, who is coming to us live from the great city of Boston.
I'm going to take my glasses off. The glare here is horrible. I'm actually going to do a couple of things. I'm going to shut this curtain because the glare here is extra terrible. Hi, everybody. Here I am in my hotel room in Boston, Massachusetts. Actually in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Have you been to Boston before, Michelle?
I have. It's been a long time, but I have been.
Well, it is one of the great towns in this country. And so for people who are not familiar with Boston/Cambridge, just an absolutely wonderful city where I had the immense pleasure of spending 4 years in college and grad school. And the World Cup is here. So I did not know when I booked this particular trip, which I had to take, that the World Cup was going to be in Boston. I probably should have known, but it never occurred to me.
Yeah.
So I'm here and I'm surrounded by a bunch of British people because I think England is playing somebody tomorrow.
Scotland just was there because I saw so much about Scotland and how the Scottish people were so
dry.
They drank the city dry and also felt very loved by the city of Boston. I saw a lot of videos of people being like, this is not what we expected when we got to the United States, of everything that we've heard. But they're on their way now to Miami, the Scots. So I think that they're going to have a little bit of a different experience in Miami, kind of the opposite experience, in my opinion. But we'll see. We'll see what they have to say about the city of Boston.
Yeah. The city of Boston is phenomenal. And yes, the Scots have now been replaced by the English, who are playing, I think, tomorrow. And so we'll see if the English can drink the town dry, just like the Scottish people did. But in any case, Cynthia, great pastries in Boston's Little Italy in the North End. I am indeed having dinner there tonight. I cannot wait. The North End has some of the best Italian food around, and I'm very, very excited. Anyway, Michelle, we thought we wanted to come talk to you guys because there was a bonkers, and I mean bonkers story.
Really bonkers.
In the Washington Post yesterday about Tulsi Gabbard. So for people who don't know, Tulsi Gabbard belongs to, I'm going to not say a cult, although people who have left this particular strain.
I said cult in the title of this video.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to try to be polite here. People have accused it of being a cult. Whatever it is an offshoot of the Hare Krishna religion, which is not a cult. But there was a guy named Chris Butler who wanted to create an offshoot of the Hare Krishna religion, which is a Hindu, and is this white guy in Hawaii, and decided that that's what he was going to do. And years ago, like in the 70s, and Tulsi Gabbard's father and mother, who had already, especially her father, Mike, in the 70s and the early 80s, even before she was born, were kind of already exploring this whole notion of potentially joining this religion, and stumbled upon this guy and moved to Hawaii and became two of his acolytes. And so Tulsi Gabbard was raised in this
cult.
In this cult. And what's fascinating is this is all, none of what we're saying to you is news. Like, this has been reported many, many, many times in many years.
For years and years. This has been a story.
But what is fascinating about this is that there was an article in the Washington Post yesterday that talked about how this guy, Chris Butler, was, or somebody close to him. The guy does not email, so it's hard to say whether this was coming from him directly or he dictated it to somebody who sent it to her, or it was just some acolytes. But regardless, was telling her, I don't know why I'm giving this a thumbs up, was telling her exactly what to say. Like exactly what to say, which is just crazy train. And so she said it, and verbatim, very often they would tell her not just what to say on TV, but also what kind of legislation to put in, how she should behave.
She used to be a congresswoman. That's the other,
from Hawaii. She was decommissioned from Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
And, she took some really out of the mainstream positions. For instance, she came up with this whole Ukrainian biolab theory about
which is a huge Russian propaganda crazy.
Right? She was creating all sorts of questions about American involvement, that the CIA was the one that started this weird the CIA started the civil war in Syria. And remember, she went to Syria hang out with Assad, who was a butcher. And you want to talk about
she was like a really big apologist for him, right?
Huge apologist for him. Assad, of course, ended up in Moscow, which is where he was finally exiled himself to. I guess he ran away to Moscow after he was toppled. And then miraculously, after all of this, after parroting Russian talking points, remember, after she ran for president, she had to give up her House seat. She became a Fox News talking head before eventually joining MAGA. Parroted Russian talking points, so much so that sometimes if I listened to it in Russian, it was miraculous how quickly she would turn it around, almost verbatim, repeat it in English the next day.
I don't know if you remember this. In 2019, Hillary Clinton said that she thought Tulsi Gabbard was being groomed by the Russian government to be a presidential candidate for them. And like most things, Hillary Clinton was right. She's right about a lot of things, if not most things. And again, she was sort of running as I'm a younger candidate. I'm a woman. I am from Hawaii. I've served in the military. And all of those things, like all of those things seem really like nice on the surface, but when you dig a little bit deeper, this cult also that she's a member of is very controversial for lots of reasons that cults are, including being completely anti-gay, like anti-LGBTQ, like anti-other religions. It's extremely, extremely problematic.
Well, and what I think is fascinating is she was told what to say, according to this Washington Post explosive article, investigative report, actually, about everything. And yet, this guy, Chris Butler, who spent decades comparing same-sex relationships to bestiality and so on, allowed her to flip. She used to be very anti-gay marriage, to flip and apologize for, about being anti-gay marriage. You got asked the question when she was still running as a Democrat. Why? Well, turns out this guy is not just about religion. This guy was about promoting Tulsi Gabbard to be president. This is insane. And here's the question, and I wrote in a Substack on this today. Here's the question nobody's asking. And friends, I want you to insist that this question be asked, because it is amazing to me that it has not been asked. If Chris Butler, her guru, is pulling her puppet strings, who is pulling his? Because I don't understand, nor does it make any sense to me, and it shouldn't make any sense to anybody, why a Hare Krishna offshoot in Hawaii cares so very deeply about the Syrian civil war. Cares so very deeply about the biolab theory of Ukraine, that Ukraine was creating, biolab. This is all of this. I just want people to know, all of this was direct Russian disinformation that somehow ended up being transmitted to Tulsi Gabbard by her guru or people close to him. A guy sitting in Hawaii, living in a tinfoil wrapped, and I kid you not, house somewhere on Oahu, because he thought the tinfoil would prevent germs from getting in.
Oof, man. And didn't his dad have? When you called me earlier, you said,
we'll get to this, right?
Okay,
so one of the things that she was told to say in 2016 in a memo that was transmitted to her either by Butler or someone close to him said, and I quote, the CIA, you have to convey this. This is what they told her to convey. Quote, the CIA is the one that started this thing. meaning the civil war in Syria. That dovetails almost word for word with the talking points that have been emanating from the Kremlin for years. I mean, word for word. This is not a minor overlap. This is exactly the kind of narrative Moscow and Damascus spent years laundering into Western discourse, right? Assad was not the problem. Russia was not the problem. Iran was not the problem. Hezbollah was not the problem. The real villain, and Tulsi Gabbard pushed this because she was told to push this always, was the United States. Now, this part, we have no evidence. Draw your own conclusions. But because the public record doesn't prove yet that Butler is part of any foreign influence operation. But it does show that there was a political, secretive, and sophisticated domestic influence network. It was sophisticated enough to use fake online personas to buttress her, encrypted attachments, pseudonymous messaging to shape and defend Gabbard's career. Okay? And all of this should have triggered a much deeper question, which is influence on behalf of whom?
Right.
Because here's the deal about Chris Butler that, again, nobody's talking about. I had to do so much research on this yesterday, you guys. Like, I was up till 3 o'clock.
Which I'll let people know. If people don't know, Julie used to do opposition research. Like, this is what you did when you got into politics. So, like, Julie's very, very good at this.
Yeah. So I had to go down a billion rabbit holes yesterday. And I'm going to continue to go down these rabbit holes. But here's what I was able to find out. This guy, Chris Butler, and it's very interesting because if you read stories about him, including this Washington Post story, all they said is he was the son of a prominent far left physician. And you have this constant thing reverberating, right? Never mention his name. Never say what makes him far left. Just it's accepted he was far left. If you look at his Wikipedia, if you look at this report in the Washington Post, who's the far left? Why was he far left? What's going on? Who is this guy? What's the physician's name? Who's Chris Butler's dad? All right. At about 1 o'clock in the morning, I found it out. His dad is a guy named Willis Butler, or was a guy named Willis Butler. And Willis Butler had several children. I believe he had 3 sons and 1 daughter.
Okay.
His son, Kurt, one of his sons, has not spoken to Chris Butler, the guru, in many, many, many years, and said that effectively he believes that Chris Butler rebelled against their dad, who was not religious and far left, by becoming right on marriage, and on all sorts of issues, right? Because this this cult is not particularly liberal, right? In fact, it's pretty conservative. But here's the deal with Chris Butler's dad. And this was all happening when Chris Butler's, I think it was born 1947, 48. Like, he's approaching 80, right?
Yeah, I think I saw 48. Yeah.
So
which would make him the same age as Donald Trump, which
right.
Anyway,
right.
Yeah.
So Willis Butler, while Chris Butler was growing up and was already, in his 20s, he was, in fact, a longtime Hawaii doctor and anti-war activist. He was also one of the founders of the Hawaii Committee to End the War in Vietnam. Now, you might say, okay, great. He was an anti-war activist, and that's great. And if you watch The Americans, you understand exactly how much the Russians, and this is true, the Soviets used to recruit from the anti-war protesters, because, of course, if you're opposing the war, you have problems in the United States. It's just easier to recruit you. That's not paranoia. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's just a fact. Take it
One has to wonder if they're still doing it.
Well,
but,
okay,
yeah.
Right. And one of the founders of the Hawaii Committee to End the War in Vietnam, right, was Willis Butler. The other co-founder was a guy named Oliver Lee, who was a Harvard graduate, as I sit here in Cambridge, Massachusetts, who was a self-described radical Marxist who sided with the Viet Cong and criticized American quote-unquote imperialism. Okay, and that worldview also coincided with what the Soviet Union was pushing here in the United States at the time. So is it fair to say that somehow Willis Butler came under the influence of Soviet propaganda, whether or not he understood that he was coming under Soviet propaganda, whether he understood, was he a fellow traveler? Was he a useful idiot? Was he none of the above? We don't know. So, and none of this proves that Willis Butler was part of a Soviet influence operation. You could be an anti-war activist. Of course, I hate the war going on in Iran right now. I promise you I'm not a Russian spy.
Right.
But as I said, the Soviet Union and their intelligence services deeply drew assets from a well of Vietnam War protests. The real question, and this is a question that's never been answered or even asked from what I can tell until 2:00 in the morning it occurred to me, is whether anyone ever seriously examined the ideological and organizational inheritance that flowed from father to son, from the anti-war left of Cold War Hawaii to a guru-led political network that later helped elevate a congresswoman whose foreign policy instincts so often aligned with Moscow's. And this woman was not just a member of Congress. She became the director of national intelligence. She was in charge of the president's daily brief. She knows the nation's secrets. And lest anybody thinks she came to this as an adult or even understands what could be possibly happening to her, I don't want to pretend that she's a moron. I don't think she is. But she was groomed from childhood because her parents, Mike and Carol Gabbard, as I said, did not stumble into his world, Chris Butler's world, as a blank slate. And she grew up in this from day one, virtually. That her dad was a conservative right-wing state senator in Hawaii. Again, so was Chris Butler. But also at the same time, you went from being a Marxist during the Soviet era to now being very ideologically right, which was what the Russians have become. But it's the same playbook. What you think about, nothing's changed. And that's the part, I think nobody's asking and nobody's talking about, because every time you do, and this drives me up the effing wall, Michelle, Tulsi Gabbard's like, oh, you're being Hindu phobic. Oh, wait, you're going after my religion. Okay, where have we heard that before? Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, wait a second.
Well, yeah, it's just right. I mean, there are people who do that, but that's not what this is. Like, people aren't immune to criticism just because they come from a certain, background. I don't think that that's fair. Do you know what I mean?
No, like, not when you're, listen, let me tell you something.
When you're acting like a crazy person.
You are a priest and you are sending missives to the head of the nation's intelligence services saying, this is what I want you to say, and this is how I want you to look, and why are you doing this weird thing with your eyes when you're on television, which is what literally was said to her. And I want you to discuss this, and I want you to introduce this legislation, and I want you to introduce that legislation, and I want you to talk about why this thing is right and why this thing is wrong. It's not anti-Catholic to ask why the hell your priest is pulling the strings. I am Jewish, and if a rabbi were to do that, it's not anti-Semitic to ask that either.
Right.
Because if you are focused on religious things, God bless, literally. But if you are telling somebody how to behave in their public
dictating
life,
that, right,
giving
them directions, right,
then you have crossed the line from a religious leader to a puppet master, a political guru, a Svengali. And I'm going to say this, none of this is proof that there's a foreign operation afoot, but it's exactly the kind of pattern counterintelligence professionals are supposed to examine before the damage is done, Michelle. And the big scandal here is not that Gabbard carried water for Assad and Putin. It's that apparently nobody wanted to delve deeper into it.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing too, is like, I don't think she was asked about any of this during her confirmation hearings.
Nobody knew about it, I don't think. And here's the question.
Well, I mean, even just the cult stuff to begin with, like, none of this, no one asked anything. And they
tried. The Democrats tried. And they were accused of being anti-Hindu, right? And of course, I believe it was Amy Klobuchar, I forgot who it was, somebody asked, and then she was like, oh my God, you're coming after the Hindu religion.
Oh God, it's always right.
Like, oh my God, there's all these Hindus in my state. I can't, what? No more than it is Islamophobic to ask why a future member of Congress was hanging out with the blind sheikh. No. Okay. And the question that should haunt everyone who waved Tulsi Gabbard through, every single person on both sides of the aisle, is this. If the Washington Post could find the memos, the fake accounts, the encrypted files, the long trail of influence, why did the people responsible for protecting America's intelligence not find them first? And why do we still know so little about who may be puppeteering Tulsi Gabbard's puppet master, Chris Butler? And has anybody asked this question? I mean, in all the coverage that you're seeing of this, why is this place the only place that's asking that?
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. Yeah, like the story is kind of stopping at cult leader and not like who's running the cult leader.
Who's running the cult leader? Why? Why is there a cult leader in Hawaii who is an offshoot of the Hare Krishna religion, who's involving himself in minute details about Bashar al-Assad?
Right. And there's something to be said about people who are susceptible to cults and cult-like thinking. And you look at, yes, she's being told what to do, but like MAGA's a cult. Scientology, yes, is recognized as a religion in this country. I don't understand why, but has, in my opinion, a lot of cult-like characteristics, and they prey upon people who are looking for answers. They prey upon people who are standing up against something. They prey upon people who are lost, or, looking for community.
Or who want to leave their religion. Listen, it's a cult where if somebody wants to leave their religion, you can't, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's almost like hypnosis in a way. And for somebody like Tulsi Gabbard, and this is like a big part of what the argument was when she was running for president, was like, how can we trust someone who has not only been raised in a cult, but has not left the cult, has not spoken out against the cult or said, oh my God, I left and I got it, I'm healed, or whatever it is. Like a lot of people who leave, really extreme religious groups. I've spoken to women who have left the Mormon church, or being Amish or whatever it is, right? It's like I left and now I see the world differently. There was none of that. And to your point, Julie, it seems as though it was just the opposite of that. She leaned into it, went harder, and let it not only dictate her personal life, but her professional and life as a government official. And the Trump world has been silent. Not a word out of this, because, and one has to wonder, like, if they knew that this was coming. I'm sure to an extent they did, because she resigns, right? Which her husband's sick, and like, okay, if he's sick, he's sick. Okay, fine. But it is timed with more of this information coming out.
Well, let me say this. Obviously, they knew the story. I mean,
right.
The story was coming, right?
Yeah.
In the Washington Post. Well, who controls the Washington Post these days? A bunch of Trumpers. I am positive that the story was held until she left.
You think so?
Oh, there's no question in my mind. She left on Friday. The story was published on Sunday. Of course. Of course. So that they could say she didn't leave because of the story.
Oh, right. Was her last day? Okay. I didn't realize. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yep. So they could say, oh, no, she left. And then the story, it's a nothing burger because she's not around anymore. Nothing to investigate anymore. If she had still been there. So, I guess what I'm saying to you is that this is an insane dereliction on the part of our intelligence services, on the part of Congress, or I should say the Senate, which had to oversee her, on the part of Democrats, who did not ask these questions.
Most everybody sailed through confirmation.
Yeah. But Tulsi Gabbard not only knows the United States secrets, she knows our allies' secrets.
Yep.
She knows their methods. She knows all of it. And to have some random guy sitting in a tinfoil house in Oahu controlling her, where nobody's asking questions about that guy.
And why would it? I mean, here's the other thing. You think about a guy who's living in a tinfoil house in Hawaii, who probably doesn't have a TV or a radio or a phone or, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? You have to think about somebody like that. Why would they have such an interest in U.S. politics? That seems weird, right? And you know, I have asked people in the intelligence community in the last couple of years, one of which who used to work for the CIA. And I asked this person, you know, what do you think about Tulsi Gabbard? Do you think that she's in on it? Like, is she aware of what's going on, or like, or what? And this person said to me, well, I think that she's very into herself. She's a bit of a narcissist. She wants to be famous. She wants to be liked and loved and adored. And because of that, made her a very easy target to be a useful idiot for what, you know, for the Russians or whomever it is. And I said, that makes sense.
Well, I don't even know if she knows, right?
Well, that's what I mean. Like, right. Like, I think that she, for the same kind of reasons, not the same reasons, but the same sort of flavor of reasons that Trump was an easy target, you know, so was she.
But the difference is, I don't know whether Trump is a useful idiot or whether Trump had a deal. Whereas with her, it's very possible that she doesn't know what's going on, because this guy, Chris Butler, is the one dealing with Russians.
Right, because he's not just her handler, or sorry, his guru, not just her guru, he is her handler.
He is at minimum her handler.
Yeah.
He's her handler on his own behalf or on behalf of somebody else. That's the question. But irrespective, you have the director of national intelligence who has a handler, friends, a handler who was never investigated, a handler who was never revealed. Like, what is going on here? Why is it that the Washington Post had to do the work? Where's our intelligence community? This reminds me, I had a very good friend in grad school who, and this was back in 94, 95, as I sit here in Boston, who had worked at the CIA when the Soviet Union collapsed. She said they all sat there and ate pizza. They had no idea it was coming.
Right.
They had no idea it was coming. It was
talked about, on the Illegals podcast, we've talked about this at length too. It's just because the FBI is made out on that show, which, by the way, is a great show, which we love. But, you know, they're made out to be kind of, you know, in the know in the early 80s, which was like on the up and up of Russian activity in the Illegals program in the United States. But like the reality here is that they didn't know.
They did not know. And I think what's fascinating about all of this is that it sounds like our intelligence community also didn't know, because nobody raised the alarm. And what was going on during the Biden years? I understand why the Trump administration got rid of everybody, you know, who might have sounded the alarm about her. But this woman was on Fox News every single day.
I have
Russian talking points. And my question is,
of Tulsi on Fox, like in an album on my phone.
Yeah. But that's my point. Like, every single day during the Biden years, she was on Fox parroting Russian talking points. And there's not one person in the whole Biden administration who was like, I wonder why she's doing this. Oh, wait, she's got this weirdo guy sitting in Hawaii that she answers to. Oh, wait, let's look into his background.
And the Trump campaign, I guess at the time too, was able to kind of, you know, try to use her career as a Democrat. Same with RFK Jr. having come from, you know, a legacy family in the Democratic Party, kind of use these as like, see, look, Democrats are coming to our side now too. This is how far gone they are, that, you know, people are switching parties to come be with us. Which was another part of this that was like so infuriating. And I remember also back in the day, Barack Obama giving a list of a few names, and I can't remember exactly who all of them were, but maybe 5 or 6 names who he thought was the future of the Democratic Party. And Tulsi Gabbard was on that list.
Well, his Hawaii sister, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And look,
a lot of photos of people
she looked the part. She is a woman of color from Hawaii. Who served in the military. But the lack of vetting is astonishing. The Washington Post had to come up with this, and still, even after they did, nobody out there is convening. Like, where the hell is our old friend, you know, Jim Himes, banging the table right now as chair, or as the ranking member on House Intelligence? Where is, I believe, Chris Murphy, his Senate intelligence counterpart? saying, wait a second, we got to convene hearings into this guy. She had a fucking handler.
Yeah.
Just because she's gone doesn't mean that did somebody erase her brain after she left?
No. I mean, for all the talk that we have, about Manchurian candidates, and we use that kind of like as a fill-in, right, for a lot of these people who've been groomed to run for president or groomed to be, leaders in government. And I think that she is a prime example of this, having been groomed for years to have the role that she did, especially as DNI. Yep. And same, you could say the same for JD Vance, just a different group of people.
Yep.
Donald Trump, just a different group of people. They make their investment in these people. They throw money at them. They throw handlers and people who can mold them into whatever version of them that they need, give them the things that they want, until they rise and pass on intelligence. I say that as, JD Vance, oh my God, like without getting into all this, posing for photographs with Jared Kushner and whomever else with like the little key card thing and the laptop that's not even his. And we are a government that's being run not only by incompetent morons who are narcissists, but also people who are traitors. And I just wonder when everyone's going to wake up.
I think people are too scared to look at reality in the eye.
Because do you think because in the same way that people didn't want to look at the Epstein issue in the eye because the whole world would come crumbling down around us?
Yeah, I mean, our whole sense of self, we're the United States, we're the most powerful nation on earth. And we've been hacked by
we've been had
by a cult leader from Hawaii. I mean, again, even if you pretend that this guy had no foreign intelligence controlling him, service controlling him, even if you stop just with the Washington Post story that this guy was nothing more than her handler, she's got a weirdo in Hawaii who is her handler. She was the director of national intelligence.
Yeah.
What did she tell?
There's a psychological profile that like should have been, or like analysis of someone who's going to hold this kind of, role in so much power. I mean, like to oversee not just the FBI, not just the CIA, but all of it. All of the American intelligence apparatus, she had control and oversight over.
Yeah.
It is crazy. But the thing is when he nominated her, I was like, oh, of course. It makes total sense.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't surprised. I mean, and again, to Julie's point, like the most surprising thing out of all of this is that this is now coming to light. That's to me, like, I mean, I have never trusted this woman. I think she is a cuckoo pants. And like from learning about her family from day one, I was like, this person should never be anywhere near American government, nowhere near. And so the fact that it has taken this long is the most shocking part of the whole thing.
I don't think she's a cuckoo pants. I think this is a very, very smart, long-term, multi-decade play by somebody. The question is,
I mean, I think that she's, not all there in terms of like being able to make decisions for herself.
No. She's definitely a cult leader, a cult member. I'm sorry. The question, well, because, and by the way, for anybody who's like, oh, it's not a cult, I'm sorry. If you go to church or you go to a synagogue or you go to a mosque or you go to a Hindu temple or you go to, pick your, if you're a Buddhist, name it, Zoroastrian, I don't care what you are. Do you verbatim take what your religious leader says to you and do it at work?
Right. Well, right. I mean, that's where
if you don't like, do you stop doing something with your eye because your religious leader is like, I hate what she keeps doing with her eye, which is basically, this is what she was doing. She was widening them.
Well, yeah, she's a little crazy.
But my point is like, they don't like that. So she stopped doing it.
Well, this is where, I mean, I would even this is where my opinions about, different sects of Christianity kind of, and the evangelical, part of MAGA as well is extremely problematic and very dangerous for similar reasons, because this is an extremist take on Christianity, in which you have religious leaders telling members of Congress and telling members of, I'm just saying, perhaps different courts that people sit on, telling them how to rule one way or another. And it's really, really, really scary. And I read this thing about on Psychology Today, and it says, like, I'm a little reluctant to use the terms brainwashed or brainwashing in this context, because they imply that cult members are innocent victims of malevolent leaders. This is too simplistic. Cult leaders, corrupt gurus, and authoritarian political leaders may be hyper disconnected personalities who crave power and admiration. As with hypnosis, when a subject allows the hypnotist to take over their will, the abdication syndrome is, at least initially, an agreement between the follower and the hyper disconnected leader. Right? It's consent.
Yeah. So, for all that everybody, this is a 20 alarm fire here, because of what this woman was. She wasn't just a member of Congress. Although, to be clear, as a member of Congress, you have access to intelligence, just not the level of intelligence that she had. She had access to it all.
I mean, our adversaries probably know everything.
I have said for a very long time that if I were an American asset anywhere in the world right now, but especially in the Kremlin, of which there were, and I don't know if there still are, many, I would have, the minute Donald Trump won again, I would have asked to be exfiltrated immediately.
Yep.
Because I don't know that people realize this, but towards the end of his first administration, a lot of American assets died.
Yep.
Now you got to wonder who told them.
And this was reported on.
And this is the United States Senate, in its infinite wisdom, made the Director of National Intelligence. And I want to be very clear that the reason she sailed through is because everybody was fixated on RFK Jr. and everybody was fixated on Pete Hegseth. And then they were like, all right, well, fuck it. We got whatever. We don't have energy for Gabbard anymore.
You mean her and Kash Patel, and
it's like this is what they do. They flood the zone because there was one of these people that they really wanted in there. I think it was Gabbard. And so they flooded the zone with all of them. And I remember writing at the time that of all the dangerous people that Trump was nominating, we just named a whole bunch of them, she was the most dangerous. And that's before I even understood how dangerous. Based purely on her absolutely verbatim Russian talking points.
Yep.
So on that note, I got a jet. I got a call. I got to go. Good to see you. Good to see you, Michelle. Good to see. Oh, Michelle. Also, we want to talk about your trip to the U.S. Open this weekend.
Yeah, we'll find some time to talk about it, and how absolutely batshit crazy MAGA I like. For anybody who follows golf here and saw the Long Island crowd at the Ryder Cup embarrassing the United States of America, and the treatment toward our friends in Europe, 9 months later, having essentially the same group of people shouting and harassing golfers who they don't agree with or like for whatever reason, they don't lie with orange mask. That's opinion of all this. It was pretty disgusting, but we can talk a little bit more about this later, because I got some thoughts.
All right. Good to see you, and I will see you later, and we will see everybody else here later. Bye, everybody.
Bye.